Alrighty, so let's go ahead and implement our Chrome component. Our Chrome component is kind of responsible for the area outside of the main content. So it's going to be responsible for handling our header, as well as a playing indicator that's going to show on the right-hand side, which will show the relative location of where the current item is playing. So that if you have a really long playlist, say with 100, 200, 400 items, then what you can do is you can see where within the playlist relative to the scroll bar that current item is being played. And I'll show an example of why that's useful here in a moment. But this is going to be a very straightforward component. So let's start off by declaring our dependencies. First thing we need is the playlist store. Then we're going to need a reference to our header. So I'm just going to say money header. Then I'll say this playlist equals playlist store, and this underscore money header equals money header. Then I'm going to say underscore on attach. And the first thing I'm going to do is say this header text, or HTML rather, blank. I'll clear out the header completely. Then I'm going to say const title equals money, and then in template strings, span class equals title. And I'll just do that. And then I'll say append to this header. Then I'm going to say const stats equals span class equals info. And I'll append this to the header. Now, of course, we'll need to import jQuery. So up here at the top, I'll say import money from jQuery. And I'm also going to import moment. So import moment from moment. All right. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, say const update actions money equals this playlist dot actions money dot filter. A goes into a type equals add, or a type equals remove, or a type equals list. And then I'm going to map it to a, well, no, I won't worry about that. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm first getting all of our update actions, or the only actions from the playlist that result in items being added or removed, but they don't change the amount of items, or the only actions that change the amount of items, basically, so that we can recalculate how many items there are in the playlist and the total duration of the playlist. Then I'm going to say this playlist dot state money first dot merge update actions dot subscribe, or comp subscribe, this, and then I'm going to say action goes into, actually I can go ahead and use object deconstruction and grab the state right out of that. Then I'm going to say const total time equals state dot list dot reduce time source goes into time plus source total time, and then comma 0. So what I'm doing here is a very basic reduce operation where I'm adding up all of the times in the current playlist. Then I'm going to say title.text is going to be in template strings state list length item followed by a pluralization state list lengths equals 1 question mark blank, otherwise s. So item or items. And then I'm going to say stats.text is going to be moment duration total time in seconds dot format. And there we go. All right, looks like we had a bit of an HMR mishap, so let's do a hard refresh here. And it says cannot read property HTML of undefined. Well, that's going to be due to the fact that we declared these dependencies, but we never satisfied them. Or I didn't. I'm not trying to blame you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into where we instantiate Chrome, which is in the master playlist component. And let's go to where we instantiate the Chrome, and we're going to pass in this playlist as well as our header, which is aliased out to title. So our master playlist component now looks like this. Let's remove the title text playlist from that, because we don't need that anymore. So we pass in the playlist and the title to our Chrome component. So that's the change we made there. Now let's close out the root component and find out what it's yelling at now. Let's try reloading. I think there's an HMR. Cannot read filter of undefined. Whoops. Why did I do update actions? I meant to say actions. And there we go. 2 items. Items is. You guys probably caught that as well. Okay, now 2 items and then 14 minutes. Let's restart the server. So just pass an RS so that we get some more items. So there we go. 10 items and then 38 minutes and 59 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and make our playlist indicator. What I'm going to do, I don't know. I'm just going to write the code out first. It's a very straightforward bit of code. I'm going to say const indicator equals, and then I'm going to open up a template string and say div class playing indicator. Append to, and I'm going to append it to the mount. Remember, so this money mount. Remember, the Chrome component is a normal component. It is not an element component. So we want to append the indicator to our mount. Then I want to say let last. Or how about last item? Or how about last source would be better. All right. So then what I want to do is say this playlist dot server time, which is I believe is what I called that. Let's go ahead and full screen for a second. Stores playlist. I think I called that server time. Yeah, server time is how we get the current item. So this playlist server time comp subscribe this, and we'll just say we'll open up a object deconstruction and say current. And then what I'm going to do is say if const source equals current dot source. If not source, then return. Otherwise, if source equals last source, then return. Otherwise, last source equals source. And then I'm going to say const index equals... whoops, we want to get the current, but we also want to get the current state. So I'll get current and state, and I'll say state list index of source. And I'll say const percentage equals list.length question mark index divided by list.length times 100, otherwise 0, to prevent dividing by 0. And then all I have to do is say indicator animate, and I'm going to say top is percentage percent, and we'll animate that as 200 milliseconds. So what does this code do? Whoops, not performance, percentage, and this should be state.list.length and state list length. Okay, so what we're doing here is we are, every time the server sends an update for the current item, we go ahead and calculate where it is in the total list of items. We calculate the percentage, and then we set our indicator's top property in CSS to whatever percentage that was. So let's see if this code works first before we go out and style our indicator. I'm going to go ahead and come over here and refresh because I think we restarted our server. Come over here and I'm going to find the Chrome, and there's our playing indicator. And let's see what happens when I change what we're playing. It doesn't seem like anything is happening. So it looks like cannot read property source of undefined. So current is undefined. Oh, that's because it's state.current. Whoops. So we just want to extract state, and we want to do state.current. That was totally my bad. Let's go ahead and reload that. Still cannot read current undefined. Let's go ahead and console log out state and see what we get. Okay, so if we console log out state, we get undefined. Wait, I'm being an idiot again, aren't I? I don't mean to subscribe to server time. I meant to subscribe to state filter a goes into a.type equals current. So let's break this up a little bit and format our code. Move that down, and then comp subscribe, and then format code. Okay, this should be a little bit better now. Let's see our playing indicator, and then if we log in, where are you, playing indicator? There you are. Let's play. Okay, let's go ahead and style the playing indicator first, so that we can be sure that the properties, or if whether or not the properties are being set properly. So go into playlist. I'm going to go ahead and at the top somewhere, I'm going to create a section called Chrome. So above toolbar, I'm going to say Chrome. And for this, I'm going to say section.playlist playing indicator. And I'm going to say Z index is 200, position is absolute, width is 10 pixels, height is 10 pixels. For his background, I'm just going to go ahead and just do an arbitrary color, FFB000. And then I'm going to give the right of a -6 pixels, a margin top of 5 pixels, a top of 0, a pointer events of none. And I do that so that our mouse cursor will pass right through it, so we can still click, because it's going to overlay the scroll bar. So we want our stuff to our mouse events to click right through it. And then I'm going to give it a border radius of 50 pixels. All right, so there a playlist indicator is, but it's not moving. So it's right up there, but it's still stuck there at the top. So let's go ahead and figure that out real fast. Let's jump back into our Chrome. That's what I get for saying that this would be really simple. Let's come over here to this. Let's refresh and see if we're actually getting anything from the playlist state. And what's interesting is that I'm not seeing anything being console logged out. Even though I should be. A.type equals current. I guess I could just nuke that entirely. And if I nuke that entirely, it seems that it works, but just once. It's not getting updated as things move forward. And if I look at the console log state, we're not getting any additional information here. So, let's see here. Whoops. All right, got that window back up. The problem is, so our state isn't being published when things change, and that seems very, very, very problematic in so far as making our state practically useless, other than getting the first state object, because we do publish replay. Oh, wait. Okay, so publish replay. If you guys recall from either your knowledge of reactive extensions or the course I did previously, publish replay makes a cold observable hot, but it also doesn't automatically start. It doesn't connect. That's why in our actions and our server time, we have to connect to it. So that's what's going on right now. We're not connecting to it. We need to invoke state.connect, but we can't actually invoke that directly because we also do this .startWith, which returns a observable that can't be connected. So we have to introduce an intermediate state. So I'm going to say const published state equals this actions publish replay of 1. And then I'm going to replace all of that. So state, or publish state, money, of course. So state equals publish state, and then we start with the default state. But then publish state, all the way down here, we're going to connect. So let's save that out and refresh. And this looks promising. Check that out. Now our indicator shows us relatively where our currently playing item is. Now, it's not so obvious to be that useful in this current setup, so let's add enough items in our playlist to make it scroll to where it's a little bit more obvious. So I'm just going to hit next, and hit next, and hit next. So now you can see the scroll bar getting bigger. And if you can just imagine there being hundreds of items, you know, maybe even 1,000 items in this. So the scroll bar would be really small. There'd be so many items. And then let's say this item all the way down here is playing, right? So now it should be obvious what the indicator does. Because now we know exactly where we need to scroll our scroll bar in order to view the currently playing item. That's a really handy feature. But anyway, with that pretty much finishes our Chrome. We can now right-click and just add right-click, set these items. We automatically scroll to the current item. We also see our header with the amount of items as well as how long the playlist is. Right now it's 2 hours and 38 minutes of mostly the same video. And we have our awesome playing indicator that tells us where we need to scroll in order to view the current item. And that works out really well, especially for longer playlists. But with that, I think we'll see you guys in the next video.